In 2010, two men changed the way underground dance music was heard around the world. They created Boiler Room, a live stream music experience that went on to blow up DJ careers like Fred Again and Yusuke Yukamatsu, do millions of views on DJ sets, and host some of the craziest events that even DJs like James Hype can't get into.
And I just got to the point where I accepted that I wasn't going to get a Boiler Room.
But why do people like Boiler Room so much? Especially when John Summit said this. But in order to understand why Boiler Room is so popular, we need to go back to the beginning. You see, back in the early 2010s, watching music videos on television was dying out. More specifically, MTV was. Once the center for new music videos, it had been overtaken by celebrity gossip shows. And MTV left a gap in the watching music industry. Also, at the same time, the internet was changing the way people discovered music. Instead of listening to all the new pop songs that MTV was feeding them, people started diving into different niches, like techno, grime, house, dubstep. YouTube music videos were on the rise. And this is where we saw the birth of people monetizing music videos like Vivo. And MTV, once the biggest, most influential music broadcast network, was now replaced with YouTube. And watching music had gotten bigger than ever, as people were able to browse their favorite music instead of waiting for that same pop song on MTV. But there was one huge problem. There was no home for quality music viewing. And what I mean by that is, there was no way to find and experience music of these niche genres that the internet had shown them. YouTube was just not niche enough, and people wanted to watch techno music videos like they could with pop on MTV or YouTube. That's where Blaze Belleville and Tristan Richards came in. At the time, Blaze was running an online magazine called Platform, helping promote artists and DJs. But they had one problem. They knew tons of artists, DJs, and label heads in London's underground scene, but they had trouble promoting artists on their magazine. And then that's when Blaze thought of a great idea. You see, he was managing an old warehouse space in East London, trying to refurbish it for cash. But there was one room that they weren't touching. A literal boiler room completed with heating furnace. So they turned that into a hangout, invited a couple friends, and set up some turntables. Originally they were going to use it just to record a mixtape, but at the last minute, they decided to tape a webcam to the wall, connected their computer, and started streaming their hangout on Ustream. The next morning, they woke up in shock. Even though only 4 people were there in person, hundreds had tuned in online. And this was the beginning of the streaming era, so it was kind of confusing to them. But they decided to turn it into a hobby. And every Tuesday night, they ran a 3 to 4 hour set, with just their friends hanging out, mixing. The camera faced the DJ, and all the people and friends were right behind them. That visual DJ in the middle and the crowd behind became iconic. It was totally accidental, but they just went with it. And eventually in 2011, after a year of it just being a hobby, they decided to put all their focus into it. People in New York and Tokyo were watching what was happening in London's underground scene. They then started seeing it as a gateway for people outside of the UK to connect with the local underground talent of London. People all around the world could see what the music culture was like in other cities. Boiler Room had become a cultural bridge, a gateway into local scenes around the world, the kind of thing MTV never cared about. They then began expanding to different cities, with each city featuring its own local artist to represent that scene. For the first time, someone in Brooklyn could feel the energy of a grime set in East London. A kid in Tokyo could witness Berlin techno in its rawest form. And you didn't need a plane ticket to explore underground music scenes, just a Wi-Fi connection. But people weren't just tuning in for the music. It was also for the people behind stage. The DJ was front-facing, but the party was right behind them. That meant you got to see the real reactions, the awkward dancing, and the locked-in fans. And in 2013, one of the most watched yet confusing Boiler Room sets came out, the K-Tronada set. But the thing is, what people don't realize is that this is the exact reason Boiler Room is so popular. They're built on a raw and authentic foundation, like the Skream back-to-back Disclosure set.
Get the pillows out. Pillow time. Pillow vibes. Good fucking idea that was. Get the pillows out.
Or the most famous of all, the Fred Again set. The thing that Boiler Room was doing was focusing on the things that TV couldn't touch. Being raw and authentic, having a 4-hour-long broadcast, swearing, weed, booze. This all helped define the brand. Now today we have artists like Yusuke Yukamatsu, who recently just blew up, has been spread all over TikTok. And yes, lots of people find these sets on YouTube. But one of the biggest reasons why Boiler Room has been blowing up recently is because of their expansion towards TikTok. I'm guessing you've seen most of these viral clips of Fred Again, Yusuke, Sarah Landry, or even one of Solom's on TikTok, because Boiler Room is the perfect video for TikTok, as there's no language barrier, and their audience comes from all around the world. Blaze, the founder, said, "It's completely exploded in short form. When we first started out, short form wasn't even a consideration, but now with Instagram and TikTok in particular, a key thing for us has been the rise of these moments. You're seeing a lot of artists break from their moments, not necessarily from their broadcasts. TikTok has said to us that our format works very well because it's recognizable in the feed and it's audio-led. The brand has become so popular, in fact, that when Skrillex, Fred Again, and Fortet announced that they'd be closing out Coachella 2023 with a show in the round, a lot of people thought they'd be doing a Boiler Room style. That just shows you how big the brand has become. And now Boiler Room was just bought by Superstruct, owned by KKR. So I'm curious to see if they can keep going as long as they did.